Yay, hey, hey, welcome back to another episode of the Radical Healing Podcast. I'm your host, Jess Betancourt, and my day guest, my soap opera star. My guest today is Amy Vincze, and she is a certified EFT tapping coach with over 17 years of experience in helping people release emotional blocks and reclaim their power. She's also been on this show before, which was a great episode where we explored emotional release and how they're connected, various emotions are connected to the chakra system, and how to connect with that and release trapped emotions via tapping. If you're not familiar with tapping, you will be after listening to this episode. It's really easily accessible for anybody. It's something anybody can do, but to have a guide, someone like Amy who's been doing it for 17 years and can really create some powerful breakthroughs and specificity in how to combine language with the tapping sequence itself is really like another level. But again, it's accessible to anybody. And so Amy's here today to speak about something in particular, and that is feminine rage. And as for one, I'll just say when Amy proposed this episode to me, I was like, I don't have any of that. But of course, the things that we avoid and neglect and deny are usually the most rich areas to look at. So I, of course, welcomed Amy back to the show today. I'm super excited to have her demystifying and maybe creating more safety around the conversation of feminine rage, because I think even the conversation of feminine rage can feel scary to tap into because anger is such a fierce, fiery energy, which is why maybe some people like me who consider themselves more like, I'm a sunny disposition, but we all have anger. And, when I read your content and when I look at the description of your upcoming workshop, for example, I feel I feel it and it makes me interested in what is latent or bubbling or explodes within me. And I feel that there are probably many people in our audience today who feel similarly or have the opposite problem. There's too much anger. What do I do with this? What's wrong
Mhm.
with me? Those types of things.
Mhm.
So, Amy, I'd love for you just to start us off by what is sacred feminine rage and why those particular words together.
I really love the term feminine rage. Thank you for having me on again, by the way.
Yes,
I
love
love
having
being here
you
with you.
anytime.
Um, I really love the term feminine rage for a couple of reasons. Um, because when we're talking about anger, using the term feminine rage sounds like taking a more powerful and empowered stance with it, as opposed to just being an angry woman, which
Mm-mm.
there's a lot of derogatory kind of feelings that go along with that. So
Mm-mm.
there's a collective, meaning like as the feminine, as part of a race of women, we can be collectively angry together, feels more empowering and more um it feels more acceptable in some way. It feels like there's a right to it. There's a power behind it that's bigger than just me and my personal anger.
Mm.
And so I really felt like it was important to use those words to get women's attention, because this is something that I feel so strongly about, having gone through my own journey with feminine rage and getting a really kind of broad understanding of um, how much it has been ignored, how much we have kind of made it wrong, and how empowering it has been to embrace it as part of my personal human experience.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What makes feminine rage? What are the contrasts between feminine rage and masculine rage, and what sets this apart?
Oh, good question. When I think of the term feminine rage, I think of rallying against unjust or unfair behavior. That's the
Mm.
thing that comes across in my mind. And when I think of masculine rage, I just think of destruction
Mm.
mostly. I mean, that's what occurs to me. And and I think that, there's a lot of history and that goes into those understandings for myself around it. But I don't think that we've seen really positive examples from men around anger.
Yeah.
And it hasn't, the examples that I personally have seen with men around anger have not been to fight something that's been unjust or unfair. And when I think of feminine rage, I think that's mostly what women are doing. They fight on
Mm,
behalf of a cause, they fight on behalf of their children. They very rarely fight on behalf of themselves. But when
mm,
they do, it's a really powerful force.
mm. I got like this kind of vision of like the anger moving outward, it like comes from the depths, more of like the yin perspective coming out
Yeah.
into something rather than like this
Yes.
top down
Yes.
conquering kind of demolition style rage. That's not across the board. We're not using blanket terms. This is like generally what these qualities
Yes.
are. Mm.
Yes. I really love that visualization. That makes sense to me too. Yeah.
How did this come into existence for you as something that you now teach about?
It's been a process for me that has happened probably over the last 5 years. And I think menopause has helped. So, yay, menopause.
menopause,
Yay, menopause for that
menopause
reason.
rage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. But I have to say that, I spent a lot of my younger years just being in a state of depression and anxiety. And I've come to understand that it's because I made parts of myself wrong over the years. And I decided that I wanted to get rid of those things.
Do you have
And
any do you have any examples of that? Better paint this picture for us. What did that look like for you personally?
I got rid of anything that wasn't agreeable. I got rid of anything that even hinted at anger because I thought that it was going to make people not like me. I thought that it was something that wasn't in alignment with being an attractive woman. And I just made it wrong. And I kind of took that piece of me and I set it over there. And
Mm,
when that was just one of the things that I made wrong. But when I did that, I made myself kind of a fragmented version of me. And, and it's no wonder I was depressed,
mm,
you know? And it was when I started kind of incorporating those parts back in that I started to feel whole again. And one of those things was anger. And what I recognized about myself is that I I had experience with anger in my childhood in a negative and what felt like destructive way. And so I made an internal vow that I wasn't going to be that person. And I would proudly tell people with some swagger, I
mm.
don't get angry,
Yeah.
I'm so easygoing and I just kind of go with the flow. I don't find a reason to get angry about a lot of things. And I realized that I was doing myself a real disservice by not getting angry once I hit menopause and realized all of the things that I let slide that needed to be confronted.
For example, what were you mad about that you didn't deal with the anger, residual anger from, or the activated, the lodged anger from?
It was the ability to get angry on my own behalf, really. Like if
Mm-hmm.
I was um, challenged with something, normally I would just be placating, be like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, hey, hey, we can do this without that," and that's not a bad approach, but still be able to confront the issue. But I was never able to confront it. I would just back down and let whatever was happening in the environment kind of roll over me, and
Mm-hmm.
then later I would turn that anger, because I was feeling anger, I just denied it. I
Mm-hmm.
would turn that on myself and get mad at myself about whatever I did or didn't do in that situation
Mm-hmm.
that that I should have done. And if you've done this too, like I would replay whatever conversation in my mind and over again and think of what I should have said and what I should have done and all of this and just replay it constantly and almost try to take back that moment and fix it in a way that
Mm-hmm.
felt like I was empowered.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it was that process consistently at work and in my relationship and, in other friendship situations. And it was a constant bombardment of things that I felt like I was doing wrong because I couldn't own my own anger
So you
about
had
the
this pattern for
situation.
years.
My entire life,
So you had this
Jessica,
pattern for your entire life until
my
you.
entire life, but I just wasn't aware of it.
Right. So
And
what made you aware that like anger was the missing piece here?
I think it was just all the personal work that I've done over the years, and especially my awareness of my second chakra, which is where kind of passion rises up about your life. And if you don't have a sense of and a real feeling of having a right to your anger, that's the thing that ignites passion. Being
Mm-hmm.
able to kind of lean into that God, I'm running out of words here. Run into that fire, the
Mm-hmm.
fire in us
Mm-hmm.
that sparks anger and that lights the fire of our words and our actions against injustice, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
against us or somebody else, another force. That's the thing, like paying attention to that and my realization that I wasn't allowing it. And the reason I wasn't allowing it was, my own complicit nature in trying to adhere to what I thought an attractive woman would look like. And
Mm-hmm.
that was just my own conditioning from my family, from our culture,
Mm-hmm.
and everything that is going on around me. Like I bought into it. I didn't realize I bought into it, but I really did.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
really did. And again, I had a moment where I was like, oh my God, I I have been feeding into this narrative that women need to be this way. And I have been reflecting that back to my daughter,
Mm-hmm.
which was a real kind of wake up call. And with the understanding that I need to do something different if I want her to be able to act differently in the world. I need to show her a different example of what
Mm-hmm.
being a woman can and in a lot of ways should look like. It doesn't have to be mean and it doesn't
No.
have to be destructive. There
Mm.
can be a lot of compassion and love and still hold boundaries.
Yeah, how do we hold our anger without being destructive?
I think it's much easier for women because we are taught compassion and we have it kind of innately in us because of our, that part of us that is a mom and creative in that way. I think we have it innately in us to hold space for whatever somebody else is feeling and still draw a boundary um, with our own ability to stand up for ourselves and what is right.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, if we're confronted with an angry person, we can see, hopefully, that their anger really isn't about us. Just like, if our kid has a temper tantrum, we can see that it's not about us in general, that they've got a lot of emotions and they're really struggling internally. And the easiest thing to do is turn it and direct it towards somebody else But in that moment, if we can see that and hold compassion for that and be able to say something like, I understand you're angry and I'm angry too, and here's why.
Mhm. Yeah. Um, what about in the instances when you like really feel when you or somebody really feels triggered and like anger is the result of feeling that triggering? Is that related to suppressed anger in the body of something that's like resonant of something else that exists in us, right? Like
Sure.
like hearing a dad or something like yell at their kid, and like, it's like not even your kid, you're not even around it, but like you feel that rising in
Yeah.
you, or like hypothetically, or like I do because I had a yelling dad, right? Like I hear
Yeah.
yelling and
Yeah.
I'm like like how
Yeah.
might working with anger or processing it or allowing it to metabolize more, is it is it relational to it, like reducing those types of triggers or allowing somebody to work with their nervous system around being triggered in that way?
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of people struggle with circumstances like yours, including me. And it was very triggering. Like the minute I heard a raised voice or, angry words or something along those lines, I'm in fight or flight mode. I mean, that would
Mm-hmm.
just happen all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And my internal response was always to try and fawn over the situation, try and make it easy, try and make it right
Mm-hmm.
somehow. And
Mm-hmm.
I would do whatever I needed to do in order to suppress the anger so that it wasn't so scary anymore. That was my main purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So, working with anger has everything to do with working through the related trauma because that is a small t trauma,
Mm-hmm.
complex small t trauma. And there's a
Mm-hmm.
lot that goes along with that. Um, but being able to work with the fear of anger first is really, really important because in our histories, it has been destructive, it has been scary. So to engage with something like that is like there's something in us that says, hell no, I'm not going
Mm-hmm.
to go down that road. I don't want
Mm-hmm.
to be that person. I have made an internal vow of some kind that I'm not going to allow that because I don't want to be that in front of my kids. I don't want to do what that did to me to somebody else.
Mm-hmm. So what is your approach for holding space for people who are afraid to even connect with their anger?
It's to do exactly that, to say those words. It's no wonder I
uh,
have been avoiding anger. It is no wonder it was such a trigger for me. And it continues to be a trigger for me in my adult life because it felt so scary as a young child.
mm-hmm.
And really reframe it as just an emotion. Hopefully there was no physical danger that went along with that anger, but if there was, that needs to be worked through as well. Um, and then try to reframe it and remind our bodies and our minds that we are no longer, hopefully, in that dangerous environment. We are no longer in that framework where you were a
Mm-hmm.
subjected to the anger, and now you can be kind of engaged with the anger on a different level.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Is that
So
that's the first part of the process?
yes,
Did you
yes.
have people, this, it makes sense that I'm afraid of anger, and contextualize it for their personal cellular memory or whatever their nervous system is recalling?
Yes,
And then
yes.
and then where do you take people once they are able to let that front guard down?
Then we go through the process of kind of dismantling the idea of it not being attractive and not being feminine to be
Mm,
angry.
mm,
Letting go of the idea that I'm only supposed to be agreeable, that I'm only supposed to be a support
a yes
in
woman.
a
Yeah.
yes woman,
Mm-hmm.
be constantly the one that's going to fix everything. I don't have to be that, and kind of dismantling that.
Mm-hmm.
And we do that by just talking about how conditioned we have been, our society, our culture, our family, like over and over. That's the message we receive constantly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all of the derogatory comments about being an angry woman, being a bitter woman, and having it be such a negative thing.
Yeah,
I
you
mean, I
bitch.
still
Yeah.
feel, yeah. And even terms that we call men in order to really cut them down is like we can call them a whiny bitch, or we can call them a son of a bitch, or,
Yeah, or a
something that,
pussy.
or a
Yeah.
pussy, or,
Hmm.
something that has to do with women
Being feminine. Yeah, or being a
being
woman.
feminine in any way, shape, or form. So dismantling and kind of being shining a light maybe more on how ingrained this perspective has been for us, and how it's,
Hmm.
again, it's no wonder if we haven't allowed anger in our lives, it's no wonder that we haven't done so because of what it means, about how shunned we would be. I mean, God, it wasn't that long ago that women would be committed by their husbands if they fought back in any way, shape, or form. You
Hmm.
know,
Hmm. Yeah,
there's a,
you're crazy. Let's take
yeah.
you're the full moon and your period and you're a witch and we got to
Oh,
put you
yeah.
away and
All the
shock
things.
you and give you a lobotomy. Yeah.
You're
You're
hysterical.
hysterical.
Let's send you to some kind of a facility where they will be able to kind of, you know, get control over you again.
Yeah.
There's
I
so
think
in
this
our,
really led women to believe that we are crazy.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And in order to stay safe, more importantly, in order to stay safe, we needed to shut that down.
You should implode instead
Yes.
so that you can
Yes.
have a
All the
husband or
messaging has
whatever partner.
all the
Hmm.
messaging has been that we are the problem, and we have turned it on ourselves internally, and having our critical voice go nuts if something came up, and you know yeah,
Squash it.
we blame ourselves. We blame
Yeah.
ourselves.
Yeah. Go cry in private. Yeah.
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 What about the ragers? Like I can think of particular people in my life who are like their anger is front and center, but it's really
Mhm.
leaky and it's really dangerous and it does feel precarious, that level of expression.
Yeah.
How might you work with those people in contrast to, because they're running a different narrative.
Yeah. For those people, I think they tend to live in that place of anger and operate from that place of anger because that is their own method of trying to stay safe. To
Hmm.
be in that constant power mode always is the thing that makes them feel safe, like over overly using muscle instead of allowing kind of vulnerability and softness in there too. It's
Hmm.
just a different tactic. On the whole, I would say the majority of women tend to be on the softer, more vulnerable side, and men on the more power side of things. And so when we see either a woman or a man that kind of lives in that place, that's because they don't that allowing the softer, vulnerable side feels way too scary too.
Hmm.
And so they just err on the side of caution and are constantly in that mode.
Hmm.
And to me, have such compassion for that too, because it's like they're fighting, fighting, fighting so much. And what's underneath that is just honestly a scared little kid.
Hmm. Hmm.
So,
But I've heard that anger is a secondary emotion, or I've just kind of heard that. I don't really have a lot of versing around this, that it is like a protector emotion for the deeper layers of like, there's real well of sadness that this anger is protecting,
oh
or
yeah,
there's
yeah,
this like sense of, super lack of self-worth that the anger is in
yes,
front of. Does that
yes,
resonate with how you work with anger? That it's actually like a protectant, that anger is in front of the more um,
yeah.
deeper
When we're
issues.
talking about anger in a for somebody that is really defensive, they wouldn't ever hear some kind of criticism or something like that, and they get really
Hmm.
defensive, and then they go on the offensive and just attack.
Hmm.
That is somebody that has no sense of self. That and that anytime something that is put in front of their face that doesn't appear like perfection, then they go on the attack immediately. So that is somebody that is really has a low self-esteem.
Hmm.
Um, I forget the other part of your question.
It was like
Uh,
that it's a secondary emotion, or that
oh,
it's
yes,
like,
secondary emotion. And it is because whenever you work through the anger first, that's what's always on top, if that's
hmm,
what you're experiencing with someone. But underneath that is always the deep sadness. When you
yeah,
when you get to that point in the tapping or in the work that you're doing, always underneath, there is just heartbreaking, devastating sadness
hmm.
under there and
That's what I feel.
a
Like I
desperate
feel that.
clawing to kind
Yeah,
of get out of it, right? Desperate
yeah.
clawing to not feel that. Please don't let me feel that deep
Hmm.
sadness
Hmm.
because that feels way scarier than the anger.
It's
Anger.
not, it's like easier to be mad, but if you
Yes.
can't let yourself move through that like firewall first, then you won't get to these deeper recesses of like what really is the issue that's
Yeah.
causing
Yeah.
whatever sort of symptomatic things happening. People's like, what? I had a question. What? How can you help women like identify where they are in this spectrum of using anger, or there's too much anger? Because people who are listening might not, like, if I was listening to this, I'd be like, who am I in relationship to anger? Are there some like pointer things or identifying questions you can give to our audience so they can help them get in touch with their own anger just as they're listening to this?
Well, I would, yeah, that's a great question. I would ask, like, what would you say your relationship with anger is? And if you look at it and you can say, well, I can get angry on my kids' behalf, or I can get angry on behalf of a cause,
Mm,
then that's really great. But can you get angry on your own behalf? Like if some kind of injustice is committed against you, can you rise up in anger and really stand your ground and feel justified in that without turning and pointing the finger at yourself as the cause of that
mm,
anger? Can you
mm,
look at it in that way? Can you express anger? Um, and if you can express anger, does it feel like a desperate proving, like trying to prove your worth, or does it feel like it is really justified and you are really comfortable with the anger of that, of the level of anger that you're experiencing? I mean, those are all really important questions to ask yourself.
hmm, hmm. Those are great questions. Great questions. That really, that, I mean, I asked because I wanted to know more, but I feel like if I want to know, then there's other people who would have a similar inquiry. Um,
And another question is like,
yeah.
do you have an example of anger in your past that frightens you, or does it feel like a healthy level of anger?
Hmm.
Something along those lines.
What, and so if someone is like ruminating with this right now, what might be like symptomatic or habitual pattern emotional traits that they might be able to recognize in themselves that are related to the disconnect with feminine rage?
Yeah, that's a good question. Um, One of the things that I have really been working on in my own situation to kind of gain back that sense of power for myself is walking around feeling like I'm unapologetic about anything in my life, feeling like I'm whatever my choices are, I'm unapologetic about it. That means that I have a balance between power and my ability to get angry and even go for the things that I want in my life. That requires power. That requires the ability to kind of rise up on your own behalf. And it requires the energy and the claiming of the birthright of anger as a stepping off point to be able to really do that in a powerful way. And then being able to own that means that you're willing to be seen out in the world. If you're not willing to be seen, then there's a part of you that kind of wants to shrink back and not be big in the world. And
Mm,
anger is a really big emotion. And so to me, that's another sign that maybe you're not allowing that power and that anger part of you.
hmm.
Um,
That's a great example. Hmm.
yeah. And even so, in if we're talking about masculine, feminine, masculine is all about setting a goal, going for a goal, feeling like you deserve to be paid for a goal if it's um, if it's a professional goal or something along those lines. And you need to have that kind of power in your life. It's just as important as the feminine side of things. So to be able to stand in that power, stand in anger, stand in the things that will ignite kind of that fire within you, the inspiration within you to do those sorts of things means owning that power. If you don't feel like you have that ability right now, that means that you're not allowing that side of you.
Mm-hmm. These are great indicators of how people might. That's what I was asking. So you answered it in a really beneficial way for people who are listening. Like, oh, I feel like that. Oh, I do that. Maybe this could be part of the puzzle for me. Like I avoid my anger, or I try to squash it as soon as possible, or
Yeah.
I can feel angry on behalf of other people, like a proxy anger.
Yes.
Yeah, but
Yes.
people who feel small, like I know I've definitely felt small in life. It's still like levels that we go to of our smallness or our bigness, that anger or rage is like some kind of fuel. It's like a missing element of the spell recipe that is necessary.
Yeah.
It's an
Yeah.
inclusion of the whole spectrum of ourselves as human beings.
Yeah.
But it's not polite necessarily. It's not conducive for niceties and social norms necessarily.
Right.
And so it's something that kind of like lives in these undercurrents where we don't have lots of opportunity. Like we don't have, I was talking to somebody else the other day about like we don't have rituals in our culture anymore
Yeah,
that
not
allow
really.
us to go through these like threshold places where these emotions get expressed in kind of ceremonial ways where like exist in indigenous cultures still, but like we've lost this, and we've
Hmm.
lost some piece of ourself that's connected to the ownership of this entirety of like what it means to be a human being. Is rage is a fuel. It's in us, and if it's not funneled or channeled correctly, then it does cause some, not some, but maybe a huge amount of discomfort or not living into complete fulfillment. And when you were speaking earlier about like the creative aspect and our passion and what we strive to make requires some like creative fire and anger,
Yes.
they like coexist in the
Yes.
same place in the body. So how does
Yes.
tapping in particular help to release and but also to channel this energy in an appropriate, helpful, creative way?
Well, with the tapping, it helps to release all of the blocks to the anger. So we would work through things like how dangerous anger is to women and has been to women historically. We can work through all of the anger currently. Like if you just all of a sudden started being angry, the judgment and the criticism you would get from like your close family circle and kind of your community at large. I mean, people would be like, "What? What is going on with Jessica?" You know? And so there's a lot of fear that goes along with kind of projecting kind of a different image of yourself. If you have one, and stepping outside of that is always outside the comfort zone. So we work through those types of things first. And then you just kind of slowly start allowing, like, what would it look like for me to compassionately allow anger on my own behalf? And being able to say, like, if somebody's confronting us about something, be able to say, no, that's not actually what's going on for me.
Hmm.
And not, but not make the other person wrong. It does not have to be destructive in the way that we present it. It just has to be a boundary. It has to be a place of self-trust in not allowing anything that's unfair or unjust
Mm.
anymore. And it's
Mm.
great signal. Anytime we feel any kind of anger, it's a great signal for something that is unfair or unjust. That's
Hmm.
always what it means.
Mm.
That's always what it means. And to be able to take a moment and look at that for, just for the clarity of what it actually is, and be able to hopefully in a moment step forward and say, no, that doesn't work for me.
Hmm.
And you
Hmm.
can explain, here's why, or you can just say, no, that doesn't work for me.
Well, it's like the opportunity to to disrupt the pattern, to break the
Yes.
cycle of how
Yes.
whatever default of your nervous system you've gone to,
Yeah.
in habitually over time.
Yeah. We have to remove the blocks to it first, though. All of the fear, remove all of the fear around anger first.
Hmm.
Judgment and criticism from other people, the destruction from your past, and all of the horrible memories from the past and how they trigger us, and remind us that in this present moment, it's a different situation. And now I have the opportunity to reclaim that for myself and become whole again.
Hmm. Mm. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to ask you this question then. So, what happens then, as in small groups or in larger groups or even collectively, when
Mm.
women stop being afraid of anger and can manage it in a way that's safe for other people or that they feel safe with it? So, personally and collectively, what happens?
I'm going to tell you kind of my personal experience with it first. And I will say that once I started kind of allowing myself to stop denying all of the atrocities that have been committed against women, even my own life, but across the world for centuries,
Hmm.
I was really angry for
Mm.
a little while. And I tapped like crazy.
Tapping fool. Yeah.
I was a tapping fool um,
Mm.
for, I probably cumulatively tapped for about like 3 hours on
Wow.
on the feminine rage that I internally felt, because it was so strong. Like I all of a sudden I just allowed myself to see how the suppression, the um, physical abuse, the verbal abuse, all of the um, God, just atrocities across the board. So many against women every single day, and still to this day.
Hmm.
And I just felt it so deeply. And I tapped through that a lot. And I got to the other side, which was just heartbreaking sadness
Hmm.
and compassion was what rose up in me. And so doing that work feels so important in order to be a, a tool to change it.
Hmm.
And that's the point that I got to, was I all of a sudden I'm like, now I understand and I can be part of the solution in my own way. In my way, it doesn't mean, raising my fist and yelling, although in some circumstances that is warranted. In my way, it means helping other women to compassionately get to the same place too.
Mm. What has been possible for you now that you're on the other side of this transformation, of this shift in, embodying and releasing the blocks of your anger that wasn't before?
I can't unsee, the things that are happening anymore. I
Mm.
can't have my blinders on anymore. The clarity of it has made me very present with it, but it has also um, risen my own sense of self tenfold.
Mm,
So it has been really wonderfully empowering, and it's a lot to hold. So I'm consistently kind of working through the collective feminine rage, and I'm still consistently working through my own fears of taking steps outside of my comfort zone of being that agreeable person.
mhm.
But I'm doing it in small ways and in ways that I feel now proud that for my daughter to see.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a process, and I am nowhere near the end of my own process with it. But I look forward to continuing to do this work because it feels life-changing for me,
Mhm,
being able to step into my own power finally
mhm,
after
mhm,
my entire life
mhm,
of
mhm,
being in this other place of feeling less than, feeling disempowered, feeling like I need to fix myself in order to be acceptable to the world. I'm
mm.
not in that place anymore. I am in an unapologetic, powerful place where I don't care to be seen.
I don't care anymore. Yeah.
I don't care if people see me. I don't
Mm,
care if people
that's
see that
awesome.
side of me, which
Hmm.
is a really amazing place to be. I never understood until I kind
So
of have
liberating.
started to arrive here. It is really liberating.
Yeah, you're connecting so many dots for me personally, but I imagine for many people who are listening to this as well. It's like symptomatically, we experience smallness. We don't want to be seen, or there's this fear of like something's wrong with us,
Yeah.
or something's
Yeah.
missing, or I'm too much, or blah, blah, blah. And all
Yeah.
this story, it's like there's an incomplete picture here. Or people express feeling incomplete. And
Yeah.
there's like, you've created some sort of demystification for me, at least in this conversation of like, well, just out of touch with this the flaming feminine rage that we've suppressed for eons and centuries through witch burnings and women can't have credit cards and we're properties of our husband and we'll cut off your clitoris. And it's like, yeah, this is all happening collectively. It's not just happening to one person. And we have been like capsized in our ability to manage it. And I think what you're speaking to is like a really potent solution. It's like just access that first within yourself, and then we find strength in the unity of other people who are doing that same work.
Yes. Yes.
So, on that note, Amy, tell us what you can offer people that they can step into and work on this with you in their own lives.
Well, I am offering a 3-day workshop on the wisdom of feminine rage, and we're going to tap through all of these things that we have discussed here today, and hopefully at least start us down the path of starting to reclaim that for ourselves and reclaim our power in a compassionate way. Like I said, anger doesn't have to be dangerous. It doesn't have to be destructive, but it does have, we do have to step into that role. And there's a lot of fear with doing that. And we're going to tap through all of those fears. And there's going to be, for some people, fear of letting some of it go because they feel like it really fuels them in a powerful way to be a force for change.
Mm,
And that's important too. But there's a balance point because holding too much anger in our bodies consistently does damage to us, no
hmm
one else. No
hmm
one else, whether you're turning it on yourself and like a critical voice, or you're holding on to the collective feminine rage and experiencing it in your body all the time, that's not healthy either. Like we
hmm
need to find that perfect balance point where we allow it and we don't live in it. And that's what the 3-day workshop is going to take people through.
mm. I think about like maladaptive coping mechanisms that people have, women especially, like cutting themselves or
Oh, yeah.
chain smoking, of like, I'll hurt
Yes.
me. I'm like internally trying to hurt something or someone that
Yeah.
we feel rage against. I remember,
Yeah.
it's so weird because I am like making connections now, but I remember there was a time in like my drinking and partying life where I was like mad at my dad, but I was like, I'll hurt you by hurting myself. I'll punish you by just really hurting myself. And I
Yeah.
thought, that doesn't make any sense, but now it kind of does. Now it makes more sense to me because I remember thinking that and doing that with that intention. But now it's like, now it makes more sense. I just wasn't owning the injustice or wasn't owning
How
any
could you?
part of it. Well, no, I'm like not a little girl, but a girl.
Yeah. Yeah. How could
Yeah.
you? And that was your environment, and you have all these different messages from the outside world telling you that you can't do
I'm
this.
wrong and it's
You're wrong.
unsafe or it
Yes.
will never get anywhere or what's the point?
Right. Right.
Why bother? This is senseless and pointless.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
now we're just starting to kind of gather up all of our tools and get some clarity around it, which is great. It's
Yeah.
great. And let's move women forward
I want
exponentially
I
by
want
doing this
women to
work.
be mad.
I know, right?
Yeah, I
I do
do
too.
now. Yeah, I really
I do
do.
too.
Hmm.
I do too. It's a really empowering place to be.
I think about like the quote unquote angry women of history have really been incredible change makers.
I know.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Hats off to them. God, can you imagine the courage that it took to defy eons and centuries of messaging and conditioning? Like that is bravery at its best.
Hmm. Also
Yeah.
fully alive. That's so fully alive
Yes.
to me. I'm like, what
Yeah.
else are we doing? What are we even doing if we're not doing something of that magnitude with our own capabilities and capacities?
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to take your class, but it's at 2 in the morning for me. But if you're in this state,
Well, you
you can
will
do the
get a
replay.
recording if you do sign up. Yeah.
Oh, you can totally do the replay. Tell people
Yeah.
about the logistics of how they can come join you.
So the best way to find the workshop is to go to Eventbrite and search for the Wisdom of Feminine Rage. And for your listeners, they can put in the code Radical Healing and they will get $10 off their registration. The workshop itself is 3 different Tuesdays from 6 to 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, but it will be recorded and you will be able to watch the recording if that timing doesn't work for you.
Hmm.
Um, and you can continue to work with it because I don't imagine that we will solve all of our anger issues in 3 hour sessions, but that's why it's recorded. So you can continue to do the work and continue to get yourself on the other side of this issue.
Awesome.
Back to a
On
balance point.
demand
On
anger,
demand.
on
Yeah.
demand anger owning.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I feel like I've tapped into something just by even talking to you about it today because really it's like not discussed enough.
Yeah.
There needs to be more conversation around it. It probably is surfacing and rising even, more so. And so I'm really grateful to have had this conversation with you today, Amy. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Me too.
Yeah.
You summarized it so beautifully, though. I feel like I was tripping over my words and you did it.
We're tripping out together. I was
Yes.
just.
Yeah.
Oh, let's be mad. Well, I like that. Not mad. I really like rage, and I like how you sacred feminine rage is
Yeah.
different than being mad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
that's
is.
something different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm seeing it more as like a missing piece, really, or fuel that I'm untapped
Hmm.
fuel that
Hmm.
we can utilize. We can use that for something
Absolutely.
constructive, yeah, and helpful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Ah, yes. Thank you so much, Amy. This has been awesome.
Yeah,
I'll
thank
put
you.
the
Yeah.
links in the show notes, the Eventbrite link, the link to Amy's website, and you can use this code Radical Healing to save $10. And what else, Amy? What are we missing?
I don't know. I think it goes against a lot of people's sensibilities about what we should do as women. And I get that because I felt that for my entire life until just recently. Um,
Mm,
but I just encourage women to lean into it a little bit. Start to find the truth for yourself
hmm.
on this birthright, this emotional birthright that has
Hmm.
been holding us back. emotionally and physically for hundreds of years,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thousands.
thousands, really. Yeah. And it's
Yeah,
important to teach our kids different.
totally. Oh, that's a whole other conversation we get into.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
know. It becomes really sobering when you think about what we're teaching our kids.
Kind of, I look at my girls and I'm like, it's okay that you can be a bitch too. Like you don't have to let people touch you, and you like if you don't
Yeah.
want to say anything, even you can just like put your hand up, because like they've kind of
Yeah.
swung the other way where they don't want to talk to. They're like,
Yeah.
like, but you have to like have some kindness too.
Yeah. Yeah. But draw a line and be able to say, no, that doesn't work for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's as simple as that.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
having the courage to do that takes some work.
It
And
does.
it takes having the example of us parents to do that first.
Mhm. Mhm. Oh, let's do it.
Okay.
Let's do it. I'm
I'm
up for it.
ready.
I me
Yeah.
too.
I
I'm
need
super up
more.
for it. More rage.
More.
Oh. Well, thank you so much, Amy. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We will be back with another episode next week. And I'll put Soar with Tapping. You can find Amy online. Also, you're on Instagram too, as well, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And so go find Amy, connect with Amy, tap into your sacred feminine rage, and we will be back again with you very soon.